Hey guys, it's NaturallyCha. So I want to share with you guys one of my most frequently asked questions, which is how do I grow my natural hair? So I'm going to share with you 5 great tips that have helped me to continue to grow my hair. The first one is moisturizing. You want to make sure that you're moisturizing your hair because if it's dry and brittle, it's going to easily break. So if you moisturize it, it's a little bit more easier to maneuver and manage the hair, including detangling. So you want to moisturize and be consistent. You can't just do it maybe like once a week or once every 2 weeks and think it's going to do something. In the beginning, you might have to do it so often, maybe a few times a day or every day just to see what works for you. But basically, you want to learn how to moisturize your hair. Also, with moisturizing, you can do like the lock method or LCO, which L stands for liquid or leave-in, O stands for oil, C stands for cream. So that's tip number 1, making sure that your hair is moisturized consistently. Number 2 is protective styling, such as braids, 2-strand twists, buns, ponytails, finger coils. The list goes on. But for me, protective styles are low manipulation styles that also keep your hair or your ends from touching your shoulders or rubbing on other material. Protective styles have helped me to grow my hair. Like, it just flourishes on a whole different level when I do protective styles. So some people, they don't have to do any styles and their hair will still grow. If that is you, you are lucky. But for those who may need a little bit more help, I definitely suggest protective styles. When you do have protective styles in, you want to try and make sure that you're moisturizing or caring for your hair. You can still wear wigs, but again, you want to make sure that you're caring for your hair while it's in that state. Number 3, I like to keep my ends nicely trimmed. Because if you have split ends or if you have single strand knots, those are little terrors and they can really take away from your hair growth and length retention. Because for split ends, they actually travel up the shaft. So when it first starts, if you had cut it, you would probably have just lost this much, versus if it has time to travel up the shaft, then you're going to lose more inches possibly. So I think it's easier to just get rid of the split ends, and you can do that by low manipulation, keeping your hair moisturized so that it's less prone to breakage, and basically getting trims, because when you have the split end, there's no real way to get rid of it except to cut it off. And in terms of single strand knots, those can also be annoying because they can snag other strands with them. So instead of just losing maybe like 1 or 2 strands, you can lose several. So again, it's keeping your ends trimmed just to make sure that your hair and your ends are growing, or at least staying healthy enough so that you can retain length. The next one is adequate nutrition and hydration. So you want to moisturize your hair on the outside, but you also want to make sure that you're getting adequate water in the inside, keeping yourself hydrated. And they do recommend about 8 cups of water a day. That can be a bit excessive, especially if you're not someone who drinks water, but I suggest trying to reach that eventually, if you can, even if it's like 4 glasses or 6 glasses of water a day, and space it out so you're not always constantly running to the bathroom. For nutrition, it's very good. I'm gonna see if I can include the link below on an Instagram post that I did, where I actually have like a picture of different foods that are really rich in protein and iron, biotin, zinc. I think it's like vitamin A, C, D, E, B. So basically, it feels like the alphabet. If you're getting a good, healthy, nutritious meal or adequate meals and food during the day, more natural foods, less processed foods and fried stuff. The next one would be scalp massages. Scalp massages tend to help stimulate your scalp and the follicles and just make sure that you're giving it a little bit more love. Because if you're just going on and applying like maybe like a hair growth oil or some sort of oil on your scalp to help the hair grow or to help your scalp, if you're not like massaging it in there for at least a few minutes, like at least 3 or 5 minutes, I'm not really quite sure it's going to be as effective, or I doubt it will be. I have massaged my scalp almost on a daily basis because I did face alopecia at some point, and massaging the oils into my scalp was also one very effective way to help my hair grow. So these tips that I'm sharing are definitely things that I do practice, and I thought I'd just share them with you. My other tip is, oh, so that's 5, but basically my other tip that I wanted to say is all of the tips that I have just shared with you, if you combine them, that makes a huge difference. And when you combine them, for you to make it a regimen. So basically, if it's like once a week or whatever regimen might work for you, you want to just come up with something that's good for you. Trial and error it's inevitable and it's necessary. So try what works for you, and then once you figure that out, stick with that regimen. Whether it's like having wash day, whether it's once a week or I don't know, twice a week, or maybe once every 2 weeks. But when you have wash day, make sure you're moisturizing your hair. Make sure you take a little bit more time to massage your scalp. Check out your ends, see if you need a trim or not. I can't necessarily say how often to get a trim because it also depends on how much manipulation you're doing to your hair and if you really need it or not. Because if you're trying to retain length, it doesn't make sense to keep cutting, especially if they're healthy ends. So just a quick recap. My top 5 tips for growing natural hair is to moisturize, protective style, trim your ends, adequate nutrition and hydration, and scalp massages, and having a consistent regimen. So these things will definitely help you grow your hair. Please subscribe to my channel, like this video, or give it a thumbs up. Share this video with others who are probably still trying to figure out their hair journey and they're not quite sure. Again, I do this because I found what works for me, and I think it's a blessing to be able to share that with you guys. So again, thank you so much. If this is something that helps, definitely share it with someone else. Stay tuned for my next video.